Everyone, I'm excited to welcome you at our job interview course for UX UI designers number 2. And today we're starting with the first module that is called HR screening. If you already watched my first video where I explained what the course is about, you might have learned that we will go through all these stages there. That will be divided into chunks of 4. So there will be first stage called HR screening. We will also talk about deep dive interview, including portfolio review there, and then followed by design critique and design exercise. So there will be 4 weeks there and 4 big chunks of information. And today we will be starting with HR screening. So I prepared a presentation for you that I will quickly cover in this video, and I will also refer to this workspace that I created for students of this enrollment of the second course, and this is the place where we will be collecting all our artifacts and talking about results and milestones and things of that nature. So you will find our job interview course for UX UI designers number 2 as a FigJam file, and here there will be a to-do list for you with things you should do this week. And starting with the first module, this will be the 3 things that I prepared for you to cover, and there will be these giant areas for you to leave your deliverables, and those who do everything, all the checklists for every week will get a certificate at the end of the course and will be recommended to HRs subsequently. So I will also leave the deck of slides right here so that you could refer to it and just go back to FigJam anytime you need to remember some information, and everything can be found there. Going back to the presentation and HR screening stage that I wanted to talk about. You might have already had some experience through going through it, or maybe you don't, but still might be quite nerve-wracking each time you have to talk to HRs and voice your expectations in terms of salary and your other expectations that we might have with this company. And if you don't have any experience at all working as a UX designer, what can you say there? What things to include in your CV? This is what we will be talking about. So that is why I decided to start with the CV and explain things about how to nail it based on my experience and those insights that I have already gathered, because I have gone through quite a number of interviews by far, and also interviewed other designers, user researchers, and closely related jobs. So just wanted to share that experience and hope that might be useful. So in terms of CV, and it obviously starts with CV, if you want to contact some HR and approach them in terms of some open position, you start with sending your CV. And I gathered some 4 most important highlights here in big circles to attract your attention to some points that I wanted to explain. So first of all, it should be single page, of course. I hope it is already single page in your case, but just we'll refer a bit later to each point in details, so make sure it is single page. I will explain why a bit later. It should be scannable for automatic systems that read your CVs, and it should have a summary, because HRs only have 6 seconds to understand if it is a relevant candidate. And it should be simple in terms of not using any unusual fonts, icons, and things of that kind. And that's what I will explain in details in next slides. So, speaking about single page, it should be one page only if you don't have more than 10 years of experience and you only show recent jobs there. So it should be ideally around 2 jobs, recent jobs that you did, and that will be relevant, and that will be enough. And it's only for seasoned designers, maybe freelancers, that might consider using 2 pages, because freelancers might just list a lot of projects they did, and that will take some space. Right. So I will also refer to one CV I already pasted here in this Add Your CV Here block in our workspace, so you will be able to find it there. And I just wanted to show it to explain these points I referred to, right? So it should be single page, and this one is single page, and it only shows some relevant places of work. Well, there can be more, of course. There are 4 places here, so it can be 4, but some of them only have 2. For example, the one that I found in Figma, and I'm sharing it as a template as well, only have 2, and that looks quite to the point and easy to understand what the last experience was about, and just makes life easier for HRs to get the most important things from there. Okay, so that was to the point of being a single page. Next one, it should be easily scannable in terms of an easy to read layout with the titles that go in this order. You start with your name and contact information at the top, following with summary, work experience, relevant skills and key software, and education. So it can be slightly different the order, but still it's important to have titles for each section so that HR could easily understand what each section is about, and then only the most important information in every section. So again, if we go back to this guy, Christopher Seeds, an experienced designer from Seattle, we can see these parts: experience, education, speaking. Okay, he's been speaking somewhere. That's cool. If you've been a speaker at some events, at some conferences, you can add it, of course. But this is something extra. It's important to include experience, education, and skills. So that's what you can use as an inspiration from this CV, and just add a couple of things from here, as I think this is a very closely overlapping information that every UX designer might include in their CV. So that's something to use, even if you don't have much of relevant experience as an official full-time work as an UX designer. You can still say that you had some course project, and there your duties included, for example, information architecture planning, user experience mapping, user interface design, something about visual design as well, and what your work ranged from landing pages to this and that. Maybe you managed and mentored someone. That's cool if you already had this experience, but even if you didn't, you can say what your role, your input was. Maybe you put together some developers and business analysts at some hackathon. I don't know. Maybe you had those roles there. Still, you can connect some roles as well. But definitely you can name some of these relevant key phrases, right, for your as your experience as well. Not really underline that much that it was a course project, but what was that project about? What were your input? what was your input. That's the most important thing. So going back to other things. Let's say you added those titles and you already have some work experience and skills and education. But one of the most important things I would start it with would be summary. Even if some CVs don't have it, I would advise adding it because that what really might highlight you from other candidates and just quickly let them know what your input already was. Um, in terms of your professional experience as a UX designer. So I would advise going with something like 5+ years. That sounds good. Or even just 2+ years. Maybe you worked on freelance by far. Maybe you helped some friends to enhance some experience in terms of whatever. It's not important if it was a mobile app or maybe just something that helped them to do some task faster. So you can say it's better to start with 2+ years of experience, of course. If you only have one, you can just then use a different phrase. But it's important to mention what are the domains that you worked in and what your deliverables were in terms of those projects you participated in. So it's good to include some KPIs, of course, and some important key phrases that can be used for summary can be found here in our workspace again. So that is the one underneath this block called tips. Here you can find what to include in summary section of your CV. So make sure you include at least something from these important highlights. That's definitely what HRs use to understand if you are the right candidate. And so make sure to include these and also something from KPIs. Again, KPIs can be different. They can be marketing KPIs. They can be related to UX, like behavioral UX KPIs or attitudinal. That's not that important what type of what type of KPIs you choose, but it should be something mentioned. Ideally, if you can mention one or two, would be great. For example, my deliverables led to 80% growth in user engagement, right? My redesigned landing page, for example, or after A/B testing of add to cart button, our conversion rate grew 60%, whatever. So maybe some redesign or some newly designed features might have led to some increase in terms of KPIs, and that's something definitely to mention. I also included some CV examples in this block, and you can find one above, the one that has number 1. It will be especially good for those who already work as graphic designers, and you can use these key achievements here as an idea of what to add to every job position that you already included in your CV. It would be nice to frame it with key achievements for each one and just go with something like created images, designs, and layouts that contributed to a 25% increase in site traffic, or whatever, increase in whatever. But as UX designers, we want to speak about something in terms of UX. Ideally, you should have already had some experience in designing something related to UX, not just graphic design. So you might want to include something like, I designed a mobile app to cover the end-to-end experience for a manufacturing business. So you automated some processes for that manufacturing business, and automation of major processes resulted into higher business efficiency in terms of unit costs, rate of return, and revenue per employee. For example, you can use some other KPIs from this table or this list below to make sure you include at least some KPIs. The other CV is of a UX researcher who was quite a successful candidate, and I just take a screenshot of her CV to show you as an example of what other CVs exist on UK market, and just to show you an example of a summary that immediately attracted our attention and caught the eye of our managers who were looking for the right UX researcher for our team, and they loved it that she used this 100% increase in renewed business and increase in new business that she helped with, that her deliverables led to, right? So this is something again for you to maybe include in your CV and use as kind of inspiration. Though in terms of UI, I would say that this CV might not have gone through automatic scanning machines because she uses these icons that is not advisable to use. And again, these progress bars again are the ones that they usually advise against, because that makes it difficult to understand what you mean by 100% and what the part you're actually covering from these tools and skills. So it's better to just simply show a list of skills, a list of tools you are good at, because of course if this is your professional suite of tools to use, then that might mean that should mean you are good at using them. It's not that important to show that progress bar. Managers already think you are good at them if you are a UX designer. There is no doubt about that. So that was actually to the point of being simple of your CV, right? So no unusual fonts, images, or text boxes, because that might not help automatic scanning machines to scan your CV, and it's better to use clear headings, white space, and clear formatting. And once your CV made it through the automatic scan, or maybe someone picked it by themselves. So anyway, you are going to an HR screening interview by phone, or will it be online, whatever the format is. You're likely to get some typical questions, and you'd better prepare some answers, some questions for the HRs to ask from your part as well. In terms of typical questions, they usually start with something like describe your current position, and I gathered answers for these questions in this HR screening session block. I put all the questions that they might challenge you with, and answers can be found here. I added a link that will show you all the answers for each of these questions there, so you can just go through all of them and make sure you're able to answer. And then once you will be joining a workshop with other students of this course to ask and answer those questions, you will be all prepared. So, right, you will be able to describe your current position and things like that. And in terms of a desired salary, that can be a tricky question, and the best thing is to still start with a number that might be a bit lower than the one you anticipate to get at the end of the journey. So if you can start with a smaller number, and then if you see you are likely to land this job, you might go with an increase and a higher sum. And it's also better to start with a range rather than a number, right? If you give some range from this to that, Again, it's easier to maneuver and play around that numbers afterwards. So uh, then there can be all kind of professional knowledge questions in terms of value of UX design and how you carry out user research and things like that. And if you go to that link that I shared for you, you will be able to find all those answers there. There can be many more, of course, but still, these are the most important ones here. And I hope after reading all these tips, you will be really, you will be able to answer those, because that is just about your common background and feeling inspired by UX. That's what they should be able to see, right? Your sparkling eyes, your motivation, that you are so ready to get that hands-on experience, and that's what you should be basically dwelling on at HR screening session. Okay, so that is basically it in terms of this part and everything I wanted to tell you about HR screening. And definitely you should be ready with questions to ask your HR, right? So I just put 2 here so that you could at least ask this and maybe something more, but at least remember this. Why should you join this company? And what are the challenges you're facing at the moment? These are things that might show them you really care about this company and you are seriously thinking about maybe joining them and how you will contribute and if you will be of help there. And so you might ask things like, what are the challenges you're facing at the moment? Well, I wonder how I could help there, and things like that. So this is it in terms of theory, and I hope you will be all ready this week with the HR, with the CV and answers for HR screening questions. So going back to-do list. These are the things that I anticipate you to prepare this week. The first one is a card to introduce yourself. And I found these cards that can be used as an example, but I want you to customize them and just add something about yourself, some text and maybe some facts about yourself. I added a memorable place that I once visited in Denmark. You can add anything you feel like sharing, maybe some place, something related to journeys, or maybe something, whatever, about your hobbies, something that reveals your personality and will help us to remember who are the students of this course and what are their faces. So that is really very interesting for me to see your to see and know about your personality a bit more. So if you don't mind sharing something about yourself, could you please add a card here? That would be really nice. And then the second task is preparation of your CV. So I added a couple of links to help you. One template from Figma, but you can use any other. And then inspiring CVs from UX designers that can be found there. So then once you are ready, you can add your CV right here in the second section. I added this as an example, but I will be excited to see your CVs, and I will be then reviewing one CV in all the details. I will make a video this week to review it, at least one, and then in terms of all other CVs, I will just highlight some major important points in terms of what things could be added and changed and edited and things like that. And then the last one is about our HR screening sessions. I want everyone. I would strongly recommend everyone to join the workshops that you will be organizing by yourselves this week and throughout the whole course. So I will create a group, a chat in Telegram, and if you want to participate in these workshops, please DM and I will add you to this chat. And that's where everyone will be getting a role, either an HR or a UX designer or a mentor or a supervisor. There will be 3 roles at each workshop so that you could get the most out of it and practice it to gain confidence go, of going through this stage. So that is it. That's the idea of this week, to have you um, to to let you have the good CV under your belt and also all the confidence at going through HR session. So that was it. And on that note, I will be leaving you in our Telegram channel where you can always ask questions and share any concerns you have. And I will wish you good luck and see you at least one HR screening workshop that I want to join at this course, maybe this week or at some other time. Let's see what the timing for our workshops will be. And I will be joining at least one workshop, and my colleague, a mentor from ECSoft, Alexandra, she will be joining at least one as well. So that's the idea. And at the end of this week, I will record a review of those deliverables that you will be ready with by the end of this week. So on that note, I'll see you next week. Have a great week, everyone, and productive as well.